The vessel that sealed itself. On the hermetic vessel. An alchemist had spent his whole life trying to seal a vessel. The vessel was an ordinary glass vessel, round-bellied, narrow-necked, the kind of vessel his teachers had used. He had been told in his apprenticeship that the most important thing in alchemy was the hermetic seal. The seal kept the air out. The seal kept the spirit in. The seal allowed the slow work to happen in the dark without interference. He had tried in his first decade to seal the vessel with wax. The wax had cracked. The air had got in. The work had failed. He had tried in his second decade to seal it with clay. The clay had also cracked. He had tried in his third decade with a fine metal lid he had made himself. The lid had been too heavy, the glass had broken. He had tried in his fourth decade with a paste of his own making that was harder than wax and softer than clay. The paste had held for several months, then had given out. He had been working at this for 40 years. He was, by then, an old man. He had not, in those 40 years, completed a single alchemical operation. He had been so busy trying to seal the vessel that the contents had never had time to undergo the changes the operations required. He had begun, in his last years, to wonder whether the contents existed at all, or whether the whole alchemical enterprise was, perhaps, a way of training men to seal vessels, and that the vessels themselves, sealed or not, contained nothing. He had not given up, but he was tired. One morning, in his 64th year, he came down to his laboratory and found that the vessel had sealed itself. He had left it the previous evening unsealed, with the latest version of his paste applied around the neck and a thin metal cap loosely fitted. He had not finished the seal. He had been called away to dinner. He had intended to complete the work in the morning. When he came down in the morning, the cap was gone. The paste was gone. The neck of the vessel had simply closed. The glass at the neck had, by some process he could not explain, joined to itself. There was no seam. There was no scar. The vessel was, where it had been opened the night before, now closed. The glass was continuous. It was as if the vessel had grown a small dome over its own opening in the night. He stood and looked at it. He could not, of course, open it. The vessel was now hermetic in a way he had not, in 40 years, managed to make it. He could not get back in. He could only watch. He set up a stool. He sat down. He watched the vessel. He watched it for 40 days. In the first week, the contents, which had been a clear liquid the evening before, began slowly to darken. They went over 7 days from clear to grey to deeper grey to black. The alchemist recognized this. It was the negrido. He had read about it. He had not in his life achieved it. He watched. In the second week, the black began very slowly to lighten, not the way black lightens when it goes back to grey, a different kind of lightening. Spots of white appeared in the black like stars in a night sky. The spots grew. The black over 7 days was overtaken by the white. By the 14th day, the contents of the vessel were a luminous white. He recognized this also. It was the albedo. In the third week, the white began to flush, not with red exactly, with a yellow that was almost gold, a pica-colored iridescence, shifting between yellow and gold and the edges of green and rose. He watched this for 7 days. He had read of this also. It had been called by his teachers the cauda pavonis, the peacock's tail. He had not believed his teachers when they had described it. In the 4th and 5th weeks, the colors settled, and a red began to appear. It was a deep red, the color of the wine of a famous province he had once tasted at the table of a wealthy patron. The red grew over 10 days until the contents of the vessel were entirely red. They were not, however, liquid anymore. They had become somehow a fine red powder, fine as ash, fine as flour, gathered at the bottom of the vessel. On the 40th day, the vessel opened. It opened in the same way it had closed. The alchemist did not see it happen. He had stepped out of the laboratory for a moment to fetch water. When he came back, the dome at the neck of the vessel was gone, and the vessel was open again, and the red powder lay quietly at the bottom. A small voice spoke from the vessel. It was not a loud voice. It was the voice the red powder somehow possessed. It said, "You did not make me." The alchemist nodded. He had not. "You held the conditions," said the voice. "You spent 40 years learning how to seal a vessel. You spent 40 years failing. The failing was the apprenticeship. The vessel needed to seal itself, and could only seal itself when the alchemist had been emptied by failure of the ambition to seal it. The vessel sealed itself on the morning you came down too tired to try again. That was the condition. Your tiredness was the condition. I made myself in the sealed vessel while you watched. You did not make me, you held the conditions. That is the only way I can be made. The alchemist sat with this for a long time. What are you? He said. I am what your work produces when you have failed long enough to stop interfering, said the voice. I have no other name that you would understand. Some have called me the stone, some have called me the gold, some have called me other things in other languages. None of the names are quite right. The names are made by men who want to claim me. I cannot be claimed, I can be received. You have this morning received me, I will be of use to you, you will know how to use me. The alchemist took the red powder that day in a small portion on his tongue. He felt nothing dramatic. He went about his work. He used the powder in tiny portions in his subsequent operations. The operations after that day succeeded, not all of them, but most. He became, in the last 15 years of his life, a competent alchemist for the first time. He did not, however, ever again try to seal a vessel. He knew by then that the sealing was not the work. The waiting was the work. The 40 years of failure had been the work. He had only, in the morning of his 64th year, been allowed to see what the work had been for. The vessel seals itself when the alchemist has been emptied by failure, the 40 years of failing to seal it were not, as you thought, the prelude to the work. They were the work. The vessel cannot be sealed by you, it can only seal itself on the morning you arrive too tired to try again. The stone forms. Inside, you did not make it, you held the conditions. That is the only way it can be made.